Alright, hey Honors Chemistry. I wanted to make a quick and brief video on naming molecular compounds. A lot of us have been seeing that this is relatively quick and approachable, but I still want to kind of show us how to do this. So, in general, a molecular compound, or we call it a binary covalent compound, contains two different nonmetals. And remember, on the periodic table, all of my nonmetals are on this right side of the periodic table here. So things like carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, sulfur, phosphorus, these are all nonmetals. And then helium, neon, hydrogen, these are all nonmetals. And if any two of them are combined, that is considered a molecular compound, or we also call it a covalent compound. Now, the rules are quite simple, actually. The first one is you use a number prefix, and then you just use the first element's English name. For the second element, you number prefix, use the stem of the second element's English name, and then change the ending to IDE. Right? A little exception is, for the first atom, there's no mono on the first atom. All right, and we're going to do some examples. Okay, so here are our Greek prefixes. Mono is 1, 2 is for di, 3 is for tri, 4 for tetra, so on and so forth. Let's just make sure we're able to name and write formulas. So for S and O3, S is sulfur, and we do not use mono on the first element. So this is just sulfur, and then there's 3 oxygens. So this becomes trioxide. Okay, for the next one, it's dinitrogen tetrasulfide. So for dinitrogen, that means that there's 2 nitrogens. Tetrasulfide means 4 sulfurs. So N2S4. Look at what I'm using. I'm using these small subscripts, and I'm writing the compound all together. For the next one, I want to name PF5. This is phosphorus. And then F is fluorine, and if I want to do 5 of them, 5 is penta. So phosphorus, pentafluoride. Remember, the second element gets changed to IDE. For carbon tetrachloride, it just says carbon with no mono, or di, or tri. So this means that there's only one carbon. If there's no prefix, there's only one carbon. And then tetrachloride means 4 chlorides, or 4 chlorine. So CCl4. And again, look, I'm putting a little subscript at the bottom. For the next one, I have HBr. That's hydrogen. And then since it's 1 Br, monobromide. Notice how I don't write monohydrogen. The first element does not get mono. Tellurium dihydride, TeH2. N2O5 gets dinitrogen, pentoxide. Now be careful, if I have like the AO, that just drops to O. So things like tetraoxide is just tetroxide. Things like pentaoxide, that's just pentoxide. Things like hexaoxide is equal to hexoxide. So just some examples. Same thing happens with like O. OO just becomes O. So instead of it being monoxide, which would be pronounced monoxide, I drop one of the O's and I just write monoxide. All right, so our oxides get weird, named a little bit differently sometimes. It has to do with that double vowel sound. So make sure if I have an AO or an OO, I just drop the first vowel. Okay? All right, and then the last one says nitrogen dioxide, NO2. Okay? So I wanted this to be just a quick, brief video on how we either name or write formulas for molecular compounds. Now remember, in all of these cases, the type of elements in here are two nonmetals. All of these contain two nonmetals. If there were three symbols, not molecular, right? So if I had something like NH4Cl or Na2SO4, doesn't matter if there's metals, non-metals, three symbols, not molecular for us right now. For us right now. This actually contains a polyatomic ion. This has a polyatomic ion. Okay? And ionic is not equal to molecular. Not equal to molecular. Okay? And ionic will have anything with like a metal or polyatomic ion. Molecular is just two non-metals. Okay, so if I had to recognize something like OCl versus NaCl, these are two non-metals. This is a metal and a non-metal. So this is automatically ionic. This is molecular. Okay, and again, be able to differentiate metals and nonmetals using the periodic table. A lot of your metals tend to be on the left side of the periodic table, except for hydrogen, and a lot of your nonmetals tend to be on the right side of the periodic table. So I'm hoping this quick video was helpful with naming and writing molecular formulas, and even being able to tell the difference between ionic formula and molecular formula.